Hello and welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today I get to indulge in one of life's great treats, a puzzle by the great Phistomefel. It's called Stostone Cold. I don't know what the cold part of that is, but I do know that Stostone is a sort of Japanese logic problem, I think invented by Niccoli, the great puzzle company from Japan, and I managed to snip this example of how Stostone works, because it's not a puzzle type I'm familiar with at all, in order to help us understand the rules of Phistomefel's puzzle. Now, there are two Phistomefel puzzles I haven't done yet. This is one of them. The other one, of course, I'm going to have a go at it at some point, but that's meant to be even harder than this one. This one's 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty. The other one is 5 stars out of 5 for difficulty. So I'm going to take a slightly easier route, I'm hoping, today. I ought to have an hour and a half or so free in a row, so let's hope it doesn't take too much longer than that. Wish me luck. As I say, these are the great treats of one's puzzling life. Now, what do I have to tell you about before we kick off today? Let me think. Just a recommendation: if you're a patron of the channel, do go over and get cracking with the Snake Egg Sudoku Hunt from Glum Hippo. Let me show you a picture. Oh, well, must be in a different place again today on the screen. And it won't even let me move it. That's a disaster. Let's just get rid of it. Sorry. So Snake Egg Sudokus, they're fabulous. I did one, well, not one from the pack, but I did an example Snake Egg puzzle on the channel yesterday. So if you're wondering what Snake Egg Sudoku is, check out that video, and that should give you a clue. Now, birthdays. I've got a few birthdays to do, including 2 that I've been late with. So I thought I was fully caught up post my vacation, but there were 2 that I'd missed, although we never got the emails about these, so I do apologise. Firstly to Tony, over there in Texas. It was your birthday on April the 16th, and your mum Janet wrote to us apparently, Tony, and I'm so sorry, but I didn't get the email, so I couldn't wish you many happy returns, but I gather you watched the channel, and I hope you had a great birthday with cake, of course, chocolate cake. Also to Colette, who I think turned 10 back on April the 17th, over there in North Dakota. And I know this because your mum Jackie wrote to us, and Jackie was keen to say that she has been known to shout at me when I've been slow at solving, so loudly that husband David will say, husband David, who is not watching, will say, "Tell Simon hi." Also, Jackie, you're certain I live on an aircraft carrier? I was about to say I wish I did. No, I really don't wish I did. Jackie listed a whole load of reasons to justify this belief. No, I can't. No, I don't dare move the webcam to show you the view out of my window, which is to large oak trees, and that is why you can sometimes hear birds, and Maverick, because the window is right there. Anyway, those are the 2 late birthdays. Now, birthdays that are actually a bit more current. Well, one's for today, actually. Delaire, it's your birthday tomorrow, and your friend Wim in Belgium asked me to shout out your birthday. Wim isn't even sure you watch the channel, but apparently he's going to make sure that you watch this edition. And you're in London at the moment, but originally from China. And I understand you are a brilliant mathematician. And when I say brilliant, the next line sort of does guarantee it to me. You've earned several extra degrees these last few years. Not even one extra degree, but several. Well done, Delaire, and I hope you find a few things to enjoy on this channel. Certainly, I think Phistomefel puzzles, even if you're completely brilliant, you will be able to recognise a mind that is very brilliant as well if you solve one of Phistomefel's creations. Next, today, and this is a birthday today, Luke has turned the big 40. And I think Luke's in the Bay Area, San Francisco. Now, that is a nice place to live. Your partner, Adriana, wrote to us and said, could we wish you a happy birthday from her, of course, and also 2 kiddos, Ella May and Annabella. You're an amazing dad and a blessing of a partner, apparently, and well done on getting your MIT certificate. What is an MIT certificate? I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, and it is Star Wars Day, isn't it? I've forgotten that. But apparently there's going to be costumes galore. And Adriana is the Goblin Queen of Chocolate. So chocolate cake will be order of the day for Luke. Oh, probably not Luke Skywalker. But Luke is a great name to have, and it's a great birthday to have on May the 4th. So Luke, happy birthday. Next, Nathan. Oh, I'm late with this one. That was yesterday, wasn't it? Nathan, this is from your friend, who apparently you'll know who this is from. I hope that's true. Nathan, your house burnt down last April. That is awful, and you lost your cat. I'm so sorry about that. And apparently, just watching Cracking the Cryptic was able to take your mind off some of that trauma. Good grief. Well, Nathan, I hope things are getting back on an even keel now. And goodness me, that's terrible. That's terrible. Anyway, Nathan, happy birthday for yesterday. Sam, you've turned 49 over there in Canada. Yeah, so Char wrote to us about their father Sam, and apparently the two of you often watch together, which is lovely. I love it when I hear families congregating around Cracking the Cryptic videos. Sam, happy birthday. And finally, Val has turned 18 today down there in Argentina, and Val has been watching for years and doesn't like chocolate cake. Well, I hope your vanilla cake today, Val, is I mean, it won't be as good as chocolate cake, but I hope you have a very good birthday anyway. Now, let us turn our attention to Stostone Cold by Phistomefel. Now, there are quite some rules to this one, so let's work through them. Fill the cells with the digits 1 to 8, such that each digit appears exactly once in every row, column, and region. A region is a collection of 8 orthogonally connected cells. Determining the shape of the regions is part of the puzzle. So what 8 orthogonally connected cells? That's, for example, those would be 8 orthogonally connected cells. They would not be 8 orthogonally connected cells because this one is not orthogonally connected to the rest. Orthogonally connected means touches along an edge. So these two cells do touch one another, but only at a point, and that's not enough for an orthogonal connection. So we could achieve orthogonal connectivity by moving this one down slightly. Next, each region has exactly one clue, which is a small number in the upper left corner of some cell in that region, not necessarily the top left cell. Right, so normally in Sudoku, when we have these sorts of clues, they're often in cages, and you'll note if you've ever studied it that by convention, in Killer Sudoku, for example, the clue is always given in the uppermost, the sort of top left cell of the cage. Here, that is not the case, so it would be absolutely possible for that to be the shape of this region here. This 21 clue is not in the upper left cell of the cage, but that's fine in this puzzle. Now, what was the other thing that we wanted to think about there? We wanted to think about, yeah, each region has exactly one clue, so there should be 8 clues. There are. I was only counting 7 for a moment, missing the actual 7. Okay, so there are 8 clues, so that makes sense. Right, 4. It says shade some cells such that no orthogonally neighbouring cells are shaded across a region boundary. So if that's a region, and that's a region, okay, so then it's going to be tricky. I've got to shade in that one. If that's shaded, that's unshaded, is what I'm understanding by that rule. So that's suggesting I probably better not delineate the regions using colours in this puzzle. I might have to use line drawing and boundaries. Let me see what we've got. So we could draw. So if that was a region, and this was, oh, whoopsie. Gosh. would lose a lightsaber duel in no time flat. So if that was shaded, we're being told that is unshaded, I think. So that's one of the conditions. The next condition is that all shaded cells within a region are orthogonally connected. Okay, so what that means is if those are shaded and these are unshaded, this one couldn't then be shaded, because this one is not orthogonally connected to the others in its region. So that wouldn't be allowed. The digits in all the shaded cells within a region sum to the region's clue. Right, so in this one, those cells, assuming that was green, which it would have to be, those would have to sum to 21. I think that's how that works. But now it gets even more complicated, because then we get to see, I think we play Tetris after that. If all of the shaded groups were to fall straight down without changing shape, they must fill the bottom half of the grid. They must completely fill the bottom half of the grid. Now this is complicated now. So this is where we could use the example, couldn't we? Let's have a look at the example. So in the example, I think the rules are similar. I think the numbers in this example are referring to how many cells are shaded within the regions. So the numbers are doing a slightly different thing. But if we compare this one with this one, you can see that having done the shading, if you effectively get rid of all the white cells and allow the dark cells to fall, they would fall, and basically you get 3 Tetrises at the bottom, Tetris being a complete line in a Tetris puzzle. Now, okay, so what can I say here? Yeah, so there are going to be certain shapes in regions that are not possible, aren't they? So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say that was a region. In fact, I better delineate it using the pen tool. Have I now drawn it the wrong size? No, that's the right size. Okay, so if this was a region, actually, I'm not even sure what I was about to say is true. Oh, this is actually confusing. No, okay, no, I could do it. I might have to move this over though, because I've realised that's not got any clues in it. Let's move that to here. And do this. Now, let's say that those cells were shaded and these were unshaded in this F shape that we've drawn. No, I'm going to add that one on. Now, I think the rules are telling us this is impossible, because this shape, when it falls to the bottom of the grid, it's going to retain its integrity, isn't it? So it's going to have that. It's going to look like that. And these 2 cells are sticking up out of the bottom of the grid, which they're not allowed to do. So there are going to be some patterns of shading that we're going to have to be very careful with in order to make sure that when the shapes fall and retain their integrity, the whole of the bottom of the grid is still shadable. So we're going to have to aim for 4 Tetrises in this part of the grid. It's a weird rule. It's a weird rule. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now it looks like we're being given something at the top, aren't we? Because these are all part of different regions. I recognise that from the clue. So let's go to the pen tool and delineate these. So this cell has to get out. It's part of an 8-cell region, and it can't bump into this one. So I think we can start to build this 13 region. This 36 region has to get out. Okay, and now we're going to get stuck. No, I am not quite stuck. I have got something. Because there is a secret that applies in this puzzle, which is a strange secret, isn't there? Okay, this is an 8 by 8 grid. And therefore, what we can ask a different question to usual. Normally, in a 9 by 9 grid, we talk about the sum of the digits 1 to 9, and that is a Sudoku secret I tell only my very favourite people. But what is the sum of the digits 1 to 8? Well, it's 36. So, actually, in this region, all of the cells in this region are shaded. And that means I can shade those cells in. And that means, because there was some rule that said across a border you couldn't shade things in, those two cells are unshaded. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that's shaded because these are unshaded? Or is it not the corollary of... No, shade some cells such that no orthogonally neighbouring cells are shaded across a region boundary. The digits of all shaded cells sum to the region's clue. Okay, I don't know whether that's shaded or not. I don't think that's what the rules are saying, but I'm thinking about this clue now. This is saying that most of this region, whatever this region looks like, most of it is shaded. Because 33 out of a maximum of 36 worths of digits is shaded. So the maximum size of this digit is 3. Because if this was 4, it was an unshaded 4, the most digits we could shade in this region would be 36 minus 4, which is 32, and 32 is less than 33, knowledge bomb. So that square is 1, 2, or 3. Now, does that... What on earth are you meant to do in this puzzle? That's... If the 33 goes down, that feels unlikely to me because it would be unshaded again. So if this one goes down, because this one is shaded, that would be unshaded. And that's only possible if this is a 1-2 pair, because we'd need to have 3's worth of digits not shaded in the 33 region. So this would be a 1-2 pair, and the 36 would do that. Well, that's actually wrong, believe it or not. That's wrong for nothing to do with numbers, but to do with Tetris, I think. Now, this might be nonsense, but when this falls to the bottom of the grid and retains its integrity, it's either going to look like that or like that, depending on what's beneath it, isn't it? Because it's got to fall into this part of the grid. So if it looked like that... My question is, how do you fill this gap in the Tetris shape? You almost need 2 grids to do this puzzle. Because when this falls, you need to be able to sort of think about what it means. And it's going to fall, it's going to be that shape, which means these 2 cells... Something has to fall into this gap. 2 grey cells have to be above this in the grid, and they're not. Because they have to fall and nest into there in order to fill the gap and make the Tetris work. So this is wrong. Which is interesting. So in fact, well, it is interesting, because what it means is that there is just a prohibition on the 33 region going south, so it must go east into this square. So that's got to be lit. Okay, so the 13 region has to continue. It's got to get to 8 cells, so it's got to continue along the top. But okay, hang on. So the 36 region. Yes, okay. Surely, now this might be wrong. No, I don't think this is wrong. Surely this is shaded. Because the 36 region... Well, what it has to do is it has to come into column 2 at some point. Because it can go to this square. But even if it goes to this square, it's then trapped in by this 9 region. So it then has to take one or both of these squares to escape. But then, however it does that, even if it did it in the most sort of Tetris friendly way, and it did this, when this falls to the bottom of the grid, we're going to have to fill this nesting opportunity. So maybe it falls like that. That still has to be a Tetris, a grey cell, doesn't it? And where does that grey cell come from? It must come from here. In fact, now I'm thinking, yeah, the corollary, yeah, okay. So what I could have said when I analysed whether this could come to here, and I concluded it couldn't, what I could have said is, how can anything in the grid that isn't the 36 shape come to here? Because if this 21 comes to there, I've got the same problem. This 21 couldn't be shaded. And then the 36 does that, and we'd have to have 2 Tetris shapes above it. So that is axiomatically definitely shaded. And that is shaded in order to nest into this once this has fallen to the bottom of the grid and it looks like this. In fact, no. Right. In fact, we can go further than that, can't we? In this column, we know that this comes and goes exactly there, because this is the top cell. So once we know that we have to achieve 4 Tetrises in this area. So this must correspond to that. That now corresponds to this. 13, you can't write 13 into this square. So at least this square is now shaded. This is unshaded because it crosses a boundary. Oh, that's huge. That's huge because this is 2 unshaded cells in the 33 region. So that's got to be a 1-2 pair. Now everything else in this region is shaded. Oh, hang on. I've got a digit. I've got a digit. Now. Well, okay. Everything else in the 33 region is shaded. So if so it can't turn downwards, because then this would be a boundary crossing and they'd both be shaded cells. That's absolutely massive. So it's got to go there. This has to be shaded because it's in the 33 region. Therefore, this is unshaded in the 13 region. I like this. This is really interesting. So now that's got to extend, which means this is unshaded because we've had our 2 shaded cells in the 13, in the sense that we know that everything that is shaded in the 13 is orthogonally connected. Now, so these 2 digits, I was going to say there are 3 ways of making 13, but there aren't today because there's no 9 in the puzzle. So 9-4 is not available. So this is either 5-8 or 6-7. Now what do we do? I don't know. haven't got a Scooby-Doo, actually. I was quite pleased to get off to the start we got off to, but I am no longer... Do we have to be... We know that the shaded cells in this 36, there are 5 more shaded cells, and we can't construct strange edifices like this, can we? Not least because that isn't enough cells. But again, if we can't create towers that are of size 5, so in fact, yeah, so we have to be careful. Because the eye in Tetris is a very useful thing, but we can't put a shaded eye there. Because this would be of height, well, it would actually be of height 6 when you include that. And it's going to stick out from the bottom once we let it sink to the bottom. So I think this shape, it can go as low as this row, but it can't go as low as this row. So all 8 cells of the 36 have to be taken in these cells. I'm assuming it can't get back into row 2 because it would have to get round the 33 to do that. Well, okay. I don't know what to do now. Is this somehow obvious? It's... I have not got a clue. I don't really even have a feeling for where to look. Which probably means it's some misunderstanding of the Tetris rules, doesn't it? I mean, do I know what this is? I want this to be part of the 36. It feels very natural, because then these two would drop into its nesting with the Tetris, and that feels like it would work. Or maybe there's a reason that this, I know how this develops. So this is going to be the top cell of column 4's Tetris. That's going to fall to there. This is the top cell of column 3's Tetris. It's going to fall to there. This is going to fall to there with that one above it. So there's still got to be two more greys in this column and 2 more greys in this column. Oh, okay. So this is, at the moment, this has got 3 greys in it, but it needs to have 8 greys in it overall. And I don't think it can have more than 1 more grey in this column, because this region is going to make an appearance. And for this to have more than 1 grey, it would have to have that one, and then this region would somehow have to ring this 9 region, which is of size 8, and get back in here, all within 8 cells. That's nonsense, isn't it? So this region can have a maximum of 1 more grey cell in this column, and a maximum of 2 more grey cells in this column, because there's only 2 more grey cells available. So that's 3 more grey cells added to this, so it's still got to have 2 more grey cells, which have got to appear in columns that are sort of later on in the puzzle. Now, what does that mean? No idea, is the short answer. Do I? I don't have a clue what I'm meant to do here. It's... It's not this region, is it somehow? Do I know whether that... If that bends downwards, this would be green. Then this would be grey. This would be green and have to come from a different region, but it could come from like the 22 or something. Or maybe actually better from the 9 or something like that. I don't know. If this goes down and then... Oh, we don't know, do we? If this goes down... I feel like there's a problem, and this might be wrong, with this being green. I'm just going to have a look at that. If this is green, then this region has to take that square. That's forced. Yeah, and we know that this is interesting. We know that this Tetris shape here can't just live its life in these two columns because it's entirely grey and there's not enough greys for that to be true. So it's going to have to come over here and provide, there's going to be at least some grey in this column. Let's say that grey was as high as it could be and it was here. The problem is this is going to fall to there, but that's not good enough. We've got to have another grey that will fall to there because this is a W pentomino that we know is going to go there, don't we? And that's the best case because it could be some weird shape like that. But let's say it's a W, which is the best case. These two, there must be still two greys above this position, and there is only one grey. That's really weird. That's very interesting and not at all intuitive to me. So that is now grey and joins the 36 because it can't cross a region boundary. Now this square, which is part of the 33, and everything else in the 33 is grey, so that can't come down here or there would be a boundary there. So we can draw another line in. This has to be green now, and that's now a boundary because everything in the 36 is grey. We've got to move this along, that's got to be grey. We've got to move this top one along, that's got to be green. So we're getting this sort of pattern. Now, what do we do? The answer is I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. So I've now got 4 in here. I can have, what did we work out? I can have 1 more in this column, 2 more in this column. That would get me up to 7. So I've got to have another one in this column that's grey. At least 1. I feel like that's it. That is impossible. Right. Okay, so just repeating the logic I just learned in this column, I can do it again. I'm going to claim, perhaps erroneously, that this 36 region now never comes into this column. Because if it were to do so, let's do it in the most efficient way it could, which would be this. Once this shape drops down, it's going to form that pattern, isn't it? Which means these two squares both need to be grey as a result of things that are above this falling in the puzzle, and there's only 1 grey above this. I think if you were good at this sort of puzzle, this would be very obvious to you. In fact, but I mean, I've never done these puzzles before, so it's far from obvious to me. So now, this 36 region lives its life entirely within the first 3 columns of the grid. I wish I knew what that meant. 1, 2, 3, 4. Possibly this one, 5. But it's also it's a little bit restricted. Actually, hang on. It is a lot restricted. Because we know it can't come down to this row, don't we? We worked that out before because it would be too tall. We'd have too tall an edifice. So actually, now it's got to take some portion of those squares. That's really interesting. So these 4 cells and 4 of these are what makes up the 36. In order to make sure it never comes into this column, which it can't do, and never goes down as far as this row, which it also can't do. So 4 of these 5 digits, or 4 of these 5 cells are grey. Right, okay, well it's not, this is grey then. Because if the others were grey, that would isolate this cell in a region. It would not be part of a region. So that's definitely grey. Now we might be able to pull another trick like that. Let's think. How could... Yeah, okay. How could this not be grey? If we make that the extent of the 36 region, this square is green. But as this shape falls to the bottom of the grid and retains its integrity, you're going to get a C shape like this at the bottom of the grid, and that square cannot be filled. Because we can't literally do Tetris. We can't sort of slide in something from this column and move it into this square. That won't work. So actually that's grey. I don't know if this is how you're meant to do this, but this is the Simon way of thinking about this. Now I've got 6 now of this one. I need 2 of these 3. Oh, and I know we can't go into this column, so that's now got to be green. It'd be quite useful to know if this was grey, wouldn't it? Well, it would, but it all looks quite plain vanilla now. These 2 are just going to drop in there. If those 2 were both grey, it would sort of just... Then we'd need 2 greys in this column provided by other clues, these sorts of clues. Actually, that's not that easy, is it? Because maybe you can force that not to be true. So if it's these 2... rather than this one, then none of these could be, all of those would be forced to be green, wouldn't they? Oh, whoa, okay. Alright, forget that. There's a different way we can disprove this, which is really rather beautiful. Right, if this is true, forget about all this stuff over here. Let's just look at this column. Because if this is the pattern of the 36, we have to ring it with green by the rule. And now look at this column, column 4. We've only got one thingy in it so far, so all of those have to be grey. They're part of a 22 clue, so all of these are part of the same region. And I can't possibly have 16 cells here. There just can't be 16 cells. There aren't, are there? There are 11. And why do I need 16? Well, I've got a 9 region and a 7 region that can't get past this wall of the 22 region that I've just built. So that's wrong. And if that's wrong, that's in. And now if that's in, that's unshaded, because it is part of a different region. So we're in this world. We've got one more cell to find of the 36. It's one of these 2. Well, can I do that trick again? Yeah, I can do that trick again, can't I? It's actually this cell that's providing the trick. In the sense that now, with this being in, if this was grey, this is green, these 3 have to be grey to complete our grey quota in column 4. There must be 4 greys in every single column, exactly 4 greys. Otherwise we can't fill the bottom of the grid and make it Tetris worthy. So these would be part of the 22, and I'd have the same problem. I might have one more cell. I'd have those cells then available for the 9 and the 7, but it's still not getting to a count of 16. So that is not grey. That's grey. We can ring these with green. This 9 region now needs to think about how it's going to get out. It's got to go down there, but we don't know whether this is grey or not, or we might do when we think about Tetris. Okay, here is an obvious point which I hadn't thought about. There are no 9s in this puzzle. So a 9 thingy here, if that's grey, that's got to be grey as well, because we can't write 9 into this single cell, and that's going to put too many greys in this column, so that is green. So one of these is grey. Oh, hang on. Okay, no, there's a different point, isn't there? Look at column 2. I've got 4 greys. So that's all the greys I'm allowed. So now, well, now this is really interesting, because actually, whatever is grey. Oh, I see. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, how strange. Right. So now, I want to write 7 here. That might not be valid. Let me just think about that. Well, okay, the first point is definitely valid. The first point is that because the 9 must involve at least 2 digits, there must be 2 shaded cells in the 9 region. You can see that we can't shade both of those cells, because that's going to put 5 shades in column 1. So the 9 is not providing the extra shaded cell. Now, if the 7 is providing that shaded cell, given these two are part of the 9, and the 4 is not equal to 7, the only way that you could provide 1 cell to column 1 and have no shaded cells in column 2 would be to provide a single 7 exactly there. Now, the only other thought I'm having is, could you have... I don't actually think you can. I'm wondering whether you could reach in somehow. No, you can't. You just can't reach in, because all of these other numbers are too big. So to provide a shaded cell here, even if you could get the region in there, which you probably can't actually looking at it, but let's say you could, you'd need orthogonally connected digits connected to whatever's shaded in here that added up to these clues. Yeah, so it is a shaded 7 in the bottom cell of the grid, joining to this as part of its region. That tells us that this square is green. It doesn't tell us what region this is part of, which is a very odd thing to think about. So this region now, this 22 region, what does that mean? I don't know. Yeah, okay, but we can do some things here, I think, because effectively we've got 2 regions. We've got a 9 region and a 7 region that have to make their escape from this portion of the grid. Now, how do they do that? It's quite interesting with this cell being here that can't be part of those regions. These 2 cells have to be, one of these cells has to be in the 9 region, the top one, and this will have to be in the 7 region, won't it? That's forced. Because otherwise, you can't get both these regions out. There's effectively, this is a 2-cell passageway through which both those regions must move. Now the problem, well, there's many problems, but we don't, so that must be, oh, actually, maybe this could go like that, actually. This is definitely part of the 7. That's definitely part of the 9. And the 9 has to get into the left, so maybe I can only do that, which is very annoying. Oh, I don't know. So somehow that's joining up. I mean, I can join those up, I suppose. But I'm a bit nervous about not knowing what these are. Right. Here is a simple point. The 7 has had all its grey cells, so those two are both green. And that's beautiful for this column, because now this column has got 4 greens in it. It's so simple once you see it, but it just takes me a few seconds to understand what's going on. But now this is all grey. That's part of the 22. Oh, I see. So the 9, yeah. If this was grey, oh, actually, no, I don't like the look of that. I might be wrong about this, but that doesn't look like it works from a Tetris perspective. If that's grey, yeah, if that's grey, I've got 4 greys in this column, so that's green. And as this grey falls down, it's going to go to those squares, isn't it? And that square's not going to be able to be grey. That's the lowest grey in its column, but the lowest it can go, given this would be grey, is there, and that's not low enough. That's beautiful, I think. So that square's green. Ah, okay, but these are part of the 9 clue, because the 9 clue has to get out. And it's either, even if it goes up there, it's still going there. So these two are part of the 9 clue. And if they're both part of the 9 clue, that's part of the 9 clue, because it can't be part of another region. So now I've got 7 cells of the 9 clue. Right, and my 7 region is a maximum size of 7 at the moment, so it has to get out to there. We know that that's green. The 22 region, well, the 22 region has a grey cell in it. So, yeah, this is interesting. As normally, again, my mathematics is being thrown off here by the fact this is an 8-cell puzzle. So, normally 22 you can make with 3 different digits, because you can use a 9. If you can't use a 9, 8, 7 and 6 only add up to 21. So this is part of a 4-cell sequence or higher, which means both of those must be, even if this is part of the 22, these two have to definitely be grey. So we can start to delineate this, we can delineate that, we can delineate that. Start drawing in the boundary here. Oh, I see, sorry. I haven't got enough greys in this column, so that's grey. So now I have got 4 in my 22. Right, and that's forcing how the 7 moves. Look, so the 7 has to come through that passageway. Still don't know about the 4 though. No, I think what I was about to say is right, I think. Okay. Oh, good grief. I've just seen 2 deductions that I think are correct, and if they're both correct, this is huge. Right. So here was my thought. So my 7 region now is substantially, it's getting there, isn't it? But we've got this 4 to think about. And I was wondering whether the 9 could take the 4. And if it did, it would complete its 8-cell quota. It would be core 8. which would mean that we were in this sort of world, and this sort of world, and this sort of, and this sort of world. But I was thinking about that in the context of column 5. I don't think this is right, because this is clearly a region boundary, isn't it now? So both of those squares have to be green, and that means both of these squares, to get to our quota of greys for this column, both of these squares have to be grey. And I don't think that's possible, because these two squares now can only be part of the 33 region. They can't get to any other region. They've been penned in by, we know that this, as these are all orthogonally connected, they're all part of the same region. But everything else in the 33 region is meant to be grey, and these aren't. So it's paradoxical. You can't do that. And what that means is that this 4 clue here can only now be part of the 7 clue. This isn't the deduction I'd seen, by the way. The deduction I'd then seen is this. Now, maybe it's wrong. No, I don't think it is wrong. I think it's the same point. So, if the 9 does not have a shaded cell in one of these two positions, then we're in the same world, aren't we? Those two are both green, therefore, even if they're part of the 9 region. To get to our quota, these have to turn grey, and those, well, it's slightly different, but still a problem. Because now what you could do, you're forced to do this is all true, but you could pinch that square and hypothecate that to the 9 region. That's fine. The 9 region has now got 8 cells, but this square is still a problem. That still has no friend, no home to join. So in fact, what we're now learning, I think, is that one of these is grey and is the final 9 cell. And what I was thinking is, can it be that one? And I think the answer is no, because this would be the last cell of the 9, so all 3 of these would be green. And when this falls now, it falls to there, and that cell is not tetrisable. So I think you actually even know that that's got to be grey, and that is the last cell of the 9 region. Right, and that's really beautiful for a different reason, which is now I've got 3 cells in my 9 region that add up to 9 that don't include 1, so they are 2, 3 and 4, that's the only way to do it. These squares have to be green to avoid being, because they're crossing boundaries. The 7 region is now finished with that square, so that's another region we've just discovered. The 22 region definitely comes out, but I don't know what colour this is, or at least I don't think I do. One of those is grey in column 5. Okay, well there's a simple point there then. As only one of these is grey, there is effectively a wall for this region, isn't there? Even if this is grey, that one can't be grey as well then, because there'd be then 5 greys in this column. So if this is grey, that is the furthest extent this 33 region can come down column 5, because everything else in column 5, everything else in the 33 region is grey. And if this is not grey, it cannot be part of the 33 region. So the 33 region does definitely have to take that square, and I think maybe that one as well. Yeah, it does. It definitely has to, because it can't bump into this region. And now my 13 region... Yeah, well now my 13 region just is a very dull region. It just runs across the top of the grid. That's the only way it can pick up all 8 cells it needs. And, but this is good, and because we know they're the grey ones in that, they are just totally green. And we get a... So suddenly we're doing a bit better than we were before. We've done about half the shading. One of these being grey, actually I can see that sort of working from a Tetris perspective. As this falls, it's going to be there. One of these being grey will slot into this gap. This is a fascinating puzzle. What we need here is a button that you can press and the whole thing, all of the Tetris happens. That would be very funny. Okay, so this is all part of the 33. There could be Sudoku that we can do as well here. Oh, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thought. Those squares have got to be 5, 6, 7, and 8. They can't be 7. I mean, it would be outrageous if Phistomefel makes me do Sudoku in his Sudoku puzzle. But it could be something that he would request. So this, oh, that's green, because this must be a boundary, mustn't it? Okay, well, now we've got all my greens in this column, so those are both grey. That's going to be very useful for the following reason. Come on, brain, think of a reason. So if that's grey, that works, doesn't it? They nest into each other. If that's, it's fine. I think it doesn't matter which of these is grey. Do I know whether this is part of the 21 or could it be part of the 15? I suppose 15 could be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Oh, that's a thought. Maybe there's some sort of global idea here about how many more grey cells do we need? We know there's 1 here, 3 here, 4 here. We need 8 more. We need 8 more. We've got 2 more coming in this region, so we need 6 more. But look, I've got 2 there, but I don't know what region they belong to, so I need 4 more. But actually, well, I suspect that the remaining grey cells are going to have highish digits in them. But that could be wrong. Can we do maths? If this is the extent of the grey, if this is green, then we know they add up to 22. That 7 is 29. We know a whole row of this Sudoku adds up to 36. So these would be a 1, 2, 4 triple. That would be a 2. This would be a 1, 4 pair. That being a 2 feels interesting. Hang on, different question. Where's 4? Where's 4 in that column? Because in this column, 4's in one of those squares. Now in this column, 4 can't be here anymore. 4's not there by Sudoku, that's 4. Yeah, so Sudoku is what we might have to do here for a moment or two. Let me just think about that. Can we do... sorry, I'm not seeing this. I mean, it looks like there's a lot of low digits we need. We haven't put 1, 2 or 3 in column 1. So if that was a low digit, it would be a 3. Seven in this row is in one of those 2 squares, because it can't repeat in this region. Yeah, there could be some irregular Sudoku that we need to avail ourselves of here. If this is green, those add up to 18 without using 7. So they would have to include 8. And well, that's interesting. Right, that's grey by mathematics now, because they can't add up to 18 if I can't use 7, I don't think. I make one of them 8, then the other two have to add up to 10, but I haven't got 6 and 4 available. So there's no domino option, given I can't use 2, 8 or 3, 7. So this becomes grey. Now, maybe we can eliminate that from being grey. Although, so at the moment we've got 5 greys. If that was, I see, but then it could turn there and that could be grey. Oh, this is very difficult. Hang on. If that's... okay. This might be wrong, but I'm going to claim that is not grey. Let me just think about that. If that is grey, then we've got 6 cells in this row that have to add up to 22, and it has to be those 6, because even if I try and extend that and have more greys, then I've got 7 different digits adding to 22, and the triangular number for 7 is 28. It's a lot bigger than 22, so we can't have more than 6 digits adding to 22. But if we had 6 digits adding to 22, there's only one way to do that, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. And we've already used the 7 in the row. So that's definitely, it's definitely green, but it might not be in the 22 region, but it might. And I don't think that tells me whether this is grey, green, or in the 22. Oh, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, this square is definitely in the 22. That's good. That's weirdly told me about this one, because if this was not in the 22, how would I get to 8 cells in my 22? I couldn't without bumping into the 15. So that is, well, 2 things. Firstly, it's in the 22. Secondly, what colour is it? Now, if it's grey, that means this has to be grey, and we've got far too many. We've got 7 cells again in grey, adding up to 22. That doesn't work. So that is green. It's part of the 22, and it traps this in now, because that's in the 22, and that's in the 22. So this is in the 22, which is something we didn't know, or I didn't know a moment ago. There's an awful lot of real estate, of grey real estate, to come in this column. That's... yes. Okay. Here is a good question. There is a lot of grey real estate to come in column 8. Could it be 4 consecutive grey cells like that? I don't think so, and it is nothing to do with the values of these. It's to do with what that does to this column. Oh no. Actually, I've thought of a way it might work. No, it doesn't. If all 4 of those are... because I was thinking these couldn't all be green. Because if all those were green, then I can't put 4 greys in this. But I was neglecting something like that, maybe. But then I still need to put another... I can't join it to this, because that's just an enormous area that you know, if that's the area we're looking at, 7 cells again, that must add up to at least 28, and these clues aren't big enough. It can't join to this because that region would be too enormous. So if it is this, the only way it could be 4 is if that and that are all grey. And that's too big. That's too big by anyone. Yeah, that's really, it's a lot more difficult to prove that than I thought when I first saw it. I thought immediately that can't work, but actually it does require a little bit of thought. Because if it's these four on their own, all four of these have to be green, and we can't fill the column. So I have to, if I am going to try and put four contiguous squares of greyness in column 9, obviously it can't include this because that was too big. So it's those, and then I have to choose which cell to extend by. It can't be that one, it connects it to that. Can't be this one because 28 is not a valid total. Can't be that one, 28 isn't a valid total. And it can't be this one because I then have to find another cell in this column to turn grey, and nothing is an option. So, okay, so there's probably something a lot easier than this, but we've now proved that these 5 cells, 4 of which are grey, it's not a sequence, it's not a continuous sequence, and that means there's a gap somewhere in the middle. And if there's a gap somewhere in the middle of one cell, those two are definitely grey. And that being grey allows us to extend our 33 region very slightly. So now we've got 7 cells of my 33 region built. But we don't know. We don't know, I don't think, where the other cell comes from. Well, okay. So there is a straightforward point here, though, isn't there? How could this not be grey? That would imply these two have to be grey, but there's then too many digits in this region. That's 9 digits. So that's definitely grey. I strongly suspect it can't join to this, but I'm not certain about that. Can we make that green? Okay, let's think about that. If that's all grey, it could be part of the 15 and be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that doesn't. No, I'm not having that. That doesn't work. Right, if this is grey, the problem here is I've got a 21 region to find and a 15 region to find. So I've got to decide what that is. Well, it would have to actually be the 15, wouldn't it? Because if it's the 21, the 15's got no cells to be big enough. So this would have to be the 15, which means I've got to find 3 cells for the 21, which are grey, which don't touch any of this. Well, that's just nonsense. There's no way. That's definitely green. And what we're now learning is that one of these is part of the 15, one of them is part of the 21. It looks like this one's the 21, but I'm not sure that's true. Right. Okay. So. Right. So now I'm going to play Tetris again. I'm very unsure about some of this Tetris stuff, but look, if that's grey, that doesn't work, does it? If that's grey, then as this falls, it's going to hit this, which is going to sort of suspend it off the bottom of the grid and leave a cell that can't be turned grey, I think. I can't see how that can be grey. If it's grey, that's definitely green. It would fall and hit that one, and that wouldn't be grey. I think that's clear. So that's green. Now, does that mean I now know what this is? Hang on, I knew this already. That is part of the 22, isn't it? Because I've only got 7 cells of the 22 at the moment, and if I take that one, I know that there'd be 2 orthogonal regions within the 22, which is expressly against the rules. So this is the problem with this is that this is definitely in the 22, but I don't know I don't know whether it's what its colour is. Maybe. Oh no, I do. I do. If this is so lovely. If this was green, then these both have to be, to get 4 greys in the column, those would have to both be grey, and that makes this 33 region too large. So that is grey, and okay, and it's 7 then, because we looked at this before. If we're trying to add 6 different digits to 22, we know that those digits must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Where's the 7 in that sequence? It's got to go there. So that's 7. These squares are 1, 2, 3, and 5. So 6 and 8 is what we're left with here. That is also 6 or 8 then. Yeah, because these 2 digits are the same as these 2 by Sudoku. They can't repeat in those, can they? And that does make sense mathematically, because 6 and 8 is 14, and 14 and 22 is 36, and there are 36 worths of digits in every single region. So that's useful. So now, yeah, so now this is lovely again. This is so Phistomefelian. That's grey. Because if it's green, this domino has to add up to 21. Well, it can't add up to 21. Or 15. It can't add up to 15 because it can't be 9, 6 and it can't be 8, 7 because of this domino. So that's got to be grey. Can't join up to that, so that's got to be green. So we've got a 3 thing. We know these have to be kept apart. So this has got to be grey. And that's the final piece of this. Oh, this is so lovely. And the weird thing is, it's actually the back end of this has not been as monstrous as the start, for me at least. So now, I shouldn't have said that, I've got an irregular Sudoku to do. This has to be green, because that's a boundary. And I've not got 4 greys in this column, so that's grey. If this was the 15... If that's the 15, the 21 can't get out. It's trapped in. So that's part of the 21. Oh, and the corollary of that is if that's part of the 21, none of those squares can be part of anything else. So those 5 cells are also part of the 21, and that tells us the size of the 21 region. It's those. And 21 in this puzzle has to be 6, 7, 8. Ah! So these squares are 1, 2, 4, 5. This column has not got any 6, 7s, 8s in it, so let's put those in. That's not 7 by Sudoku. 6, 8 pair in this row. 1, 2, 3, and 5. I'm going to go a bit crazy here with pencil marking. I've got to be a bit careful. I probably shouldn't have done this. I got excited then. I shouldn't have done that. Okay. So, okay, but we've built all the regions. Can we just check that the Tetris works? Oh, those nest in very nicely. So they'd sort of go like that. That, what's that? A Y pentomino would then fly over the top and be like that. And there's, yeah, this 3 would slip down to the bottom and be there. So that all works. That all works. This, oh, you can see that's going to work. Get a domino. Yes, works. It works. It must be right. It works. If the Tetris works, we can take comfort from that. Now, what we can probably do, he says, that digit's the same as that, and that's a bit restricted. Because this digit can't be 1, 2, 3. It can't. Well, look, because they're the same, because where does this digit go in row 2? Let's just flash that for a second. These are the same digit. Now you can see they're therefore not 1, 2, 3, 4 or 7. So they are 5, 6 or 8. which is a 5, 6, 8 triple in this column. So these squares are 1, 2, and 3. That is not 3. Oh, bobbins, that's nearly good, isn't it? 6 or 8. Okay, this might be where we get really unstuck. We need... How are we going to do this? We could... I've got nothing. Sorry. Let me just think about this. Is it going to be... it could be... I don't know where to look, really. There's a 3 in this little thingy thing here. In there. So that's not 3. So there's a 3 in this domino. Have I used all my mathematics that I'm allowed to use? The answer to that is I don't know. Oh, bother, I can't see how to do this at all. I've got 15 here. Those add up to 15, don't they? Without using 8 or 6. So there's some... They probably have to have 7 in them. If they don't have 7 in... No, they can't be enough if they don't have 7 in. So they definitely have 7. And then they've got to have 2... Oh, okay. They've got to have 2 digits that add up to 8. Sorry, that's obvious. That's got to be 3, 5, 7, because it can't be... If we've got 7 in here... The other 2 digits cannot then be 1, 7 again, can they? They can't be 6, 2. So they must be 3, 5. And now this column needs 1. Oh, this column needs 1, 2, and 4. So that's a 4. It can't be a 1 or a 2. There's a 1, 2 pair here. Now, if that's a 4... I've seen something else. Right, I've got a 1, 2 pair in row 3. So this is a 4, 5 pair. Purple is now not 5, so that's not 5. So this is 6 or 8. There's a 5 down here now in column. Oh, you can't really see that. I'll take it out. But the 5 in this column is in one of those two, so it's not in those. Which feels a bit interesting. Those 2 squares are not 4 and 5 by the 1, 2 pair that we just found. We might want to shade or try and... Oh, that's not 4 anymore. I was going to say maybe we want to colour our 1s and 2s. That's one thing I might try. If I get stuck in a moment, I'm definitely going to try that. In this row, these squares are from 6, 7, and 8. And there's definitely a 7 over here. Right, look at that. That is a 6, 7, 8 triple, so that square at the top is a 5, which means that square there is an 8 by the mathematics of the 13 cage. We can take 8 out of 2 cells. As a result of that, we get a 6, 7 pair here. Oh, hang on. I've got a 6, 7, 8 triple in this 36 region. Does that... Yeah, okay, where's 5 in that region? It's got to go there by Sudoku. That's the 3 now. Oh, let's just be careful, because there might be more we can do with this. That's therefore not 3, or 1 by dint of this, or that's a naked single. That's become a 2. That's very, very weird. I don't trust that. I'm just going to think about that again. How did that arise? Seems legit, doesn't it? That's very odd. Okay, so that becomes a 2. Which means these squares are a 1, 5 pair. And in this box, the 2 is definitely here, so that's not a 2 in the corner. It could still be a 3 in the corner. There's definitely a 2 in one of those squares. This 5 is taking 5 out of this square. Now where should we go? We could look at I don't know. We could look at okay, here is a simple question. Where does 6 or 8 go in this box? I'm going to say it goes there by dint of Sudoku. No. Oh, no, that's very useful. Okay. Now, where does purple go? Not 6 or 8. Where does purple go in this box? And because of that purple, it's got to go there, which means it's 6. So all of those have become 6. That's now 7. That's now 8. So that's 6. That's 8 by dint of irregular Sudoku. I've got loads of 6s in the grid. How many have I got? I've got 6. Okay, so there's 2 more to find. And that's got to be a 6. Because this is a naked single. That's a 7. So that's a 6. Let's purplify that. Now, where's the last 6? This column? Oh, no, I've messed it. Oh, no, that's fine. It can go here. I was thinking I've messed it up. But no, there is still one spot for it. And that's a relief. So that becomes 7 and 8. Let's make sure we've taken 6 out of all of the pencil marks. I've got a 5-8 pair here, so that becomes a 7. That's no longer a 7. Okay, that's probably good. Maybe. This row? No, maybe not actually. I'm not convinced about that. There's a 1, 2, 5 triple in column 5, so that's got to be a 4, which gives me a 2, 3 pair here and makes this a 1, that a 2. Is that good? It's nearly good. I don't think it's quite doing it though. Oh, the 2 is useful. So the 2 and the 3 go in. That loses its 3ification. 1 and 2 here mean this is a 5. That's useful. So that's 1, that's 5, that's 1. This is a 2, 3 pair. That 5 means this is a 4, this is a 5. Oh, please, just keep going now. Don't be... That's a 7 by Sudoku, so that's an 8. Okay, that square is interesting. I think that's a naked single, because by the row it's a 3, 5 or an 8, but by its box, look, 3 and 5 are in that triple, so that's got to be 8. So that's 8, that's 5, that's 3, that's 7, that's 5, that's 7, that's 8. This box needs 1, 2 and 4. So that is 2 or 4, I'm going to claim. That is 1 or 4. So this is... No, that's a naked single. I think that has to be 4. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 1, that's 4. That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. Come on. Yeah, that's 4, that's 2, that's 2, that's 3, that's 3, that's 5. Now, if I haven't made a ricket, we might have finished this puzzle. Wow. How are we going to check? Well, we can tick, obviously, but it felt like it really gave away its secrets at the end in a way that I was very surprised by and very relieved by. So I'm sort of a bit nervous that I've messed that up somehow. Let's see. Yes. 69 minutes. Wow. That is brilliant. How many people have solved it? 31 in 23 days. I mean, that should have thousands of solves. That is absolutely brilliant. This setter, we've had some incredible puzzles this last week. Michael Lefkowitz and Marty Sears, Jay Dyer, this. I mean, what a time we are in for Sudoku puzzles. That is completely original. Stostone Cold, merging Tetris, sort of, with Sudoku in a most bizarre way, but it was fascinating. I was very stuck at the beginning. I couldn't understand how to think about it properly. But once we sort of got started, once I realised how constrained this 36 was, I could then start to make some progress. And there's so many beautiful, unusual bits of logic because it's such an unusual puzzle. Phistomefel, my friend, take a bow again. How wonderful it is to see you setting again. Absolutely fabulous. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.